Alright guys, today we got a shoulder day. Specifically, I like to call it a delt day because shoulders is very broad and delts just kind of, makes sense because the focus here today is really on the rear delts, although we are trying to hit the complete front to back of the shoulder. So right now I'm just kind of going through my extensive shoulder day warm-up. I know I don't really show this part in the videos, but I would say on my shoulder days is when I'm getting the most extensive warm-up. So getting just a light band here, got some pull-aparts done already, now just doing some side laterals, and just trying to prevent any injury here. My right labrum was previously torn, and I did that playing baseball back in college. And the doctors they'll say you're never truly going to be the same, but I've kind of battled through it. Visually, there's nothing wrong with it. I opted to not do surgery when I tore my labrum, and I'm thankful I did. I did about 9 months of rehab, and we are left with no scars. So something I'm thankful about having this bodybuilding career. Just battling through. So here's the first set. This is actually my first set of weights, but we're going to call it a working set because it's 65 pounds. These dumbbells, they're blacked out. I don't know what happened to the logo, but 65s for the warm-up. And just getting right into things. If you've had a previous injury, I wouldn't recommend going this heavy straight away. But it's something I've just become accustomed to. So I make sure before lifting this heavy of weight overhead, properly warmed up. So here we go, second set with the 80s. Now I'd say 80 to 100, more so 80 to 90 pounds feels the most natural being pressed overhead. So, there's really no struggle. I have a pretty easy contraction here. And 12 reps, just butter smooth. So now we allot ourselves a little bit of rest before getting into heavy sets. Now today we're going to get into 100s. So rolling them over here. Obviously, if it's a busy gym, I'm not going to roll it in front of everybody, but was pretty light in the gym today on attendance. So roll them over to save some energy. So now with the hundreds overhead, they've always been tough, mainly due to the injury, but now they're just comfortable. I could bang out 12 reps pretty easily. So depending on the day, we might go a little heavier. We might do multiple sets. But for this specific day, the hundreds were the top set. So no need to show multiple sets of the same thing. So moving on, we have a neutral press, which is something that I've kind of switched into doing. I used to do a lot of Arnold pressing, but I just noticed that putting that twist on each rep and putting your shoulders in a compromised position probably wasn't the best thing for me to be doing. So I could also keep the weight heavy and just keep the dumbbells in a neutral grip, press them straight overhead, gives me the same effect. And when I say the gym was 1,000 degrees, it was 1,000 degrees. This is one of the hotter days of October. It's already October and it's still so hot out. So been kind of liking to stay covered lately, but the pump coverage just had to come off today. So onto the lateral raises, doing them seated, trying to flare the pinkies back so I get a little bit of rear delt contraction Traps are on fire today. So just trying to aim towards that backside. One thing for me is I like to hold the contraction in my shoulders, especially after a set of lateral raises or something that's going to keep tension on for a long time. So that's all I'm kind of thinking. Keep the blood flow in the shoulders. So now that I'm onto the standing lateral raises, I'm really trying to just, drag the weights up, not really use momentum. Make sure everything's contracting the right way. That's why using the mirror for these are super important. You want to make sure your, muscles are separating properly. And now I'm just simply grabbing the weights that were nearby just to do a set of traps, just to kind of keep tension in the area. Lately with my delt days, I've been liking to hit upper back traps, rear delts. It just feels like more of a complete workout for me. And then on the back days, just focus lower back and lats. Because I think my lower back and traps were something I neglected last year. And we're starting to bring up those traps. Look at those traps. We're on rear delts here, but those traps are on fire. And it's just something that I neglected. I didn't think that you needed them for classic physique. Boy, was I wrong. So trying to go, behind the back with the cable here. Keep tension at the top for a slight second. Bring it down slower. I'm kind of guilty of swinging these cables up and down sometimes, but it's always good to slow it down a bit. These shoulder days should not be your most intensive days. I personally believe time under tension on the shoulder days is the best thing for them. I'm not going to slam shoulders like I would legs. I think you should be a little bit more strategic with the small muscles, especially, since they're more prone to injury. But, onto some cross cable raises here. So just trying to get different movements in. Try something new. See what feels right. I have plenty of exercises in the arsenal, but I kind of stick to what feels right. And these are just one of them that, I wouldn't typically do, but just felt right on the day. So trying to hold tension in the shoulders here. And then go back in with some rear raises. Now this does look like, a rear delt fly, which it technically is from the bottom, but hits the rear delts, they're on fire at the top. But, one thing after watching this back is, I need to make sure that my traps are a little bit more relaxed. I feel as they've been coming up, I'm working them more. But it's going with the overall look. I think it's not a bad thing. All right, and speaking of rear delt flies, we're over here on the delt fly machine. Now, I feel like this machine doesn't really work the proper areas as much as doing them on the cables. This is more of a one-size-fits-all type of machine, and personally, I'd rather manipulate my own movement. But you can kind of do that the same way as cables here. So the one thing that I'm really trying to focus on is pulling the scapulas back together, almost like I'm pinching my elbows back together. So that was a real light warm-up set. So I think I get another one in, and just watch the follow through. Watch those elbows kind of, tuck in and pinch through. And that's just one thing that you can kind of do to implement if you have a lacking upper back. Make these movements not only shoulder, but into the back. All right, so this machine kind of hits more behind the neck. So the only reason why we're coming back to a pressing movement is to get the behind the neck sensation. So we're pretty much on to rear delts at this point. So it's one way to get extra reps in without having to go back to those free weights, sit on the machine. And I believe this set was more of a tester set because this is going to hit more of the front delts, but still with the angle, you're going to get overall shoulder on this particular machine. So doing a set of neutral press, and yeah, you could tell the weight just, the bar goes back kind of over your head. So just trying to take the reps slow and easy, making it look a lot harder than it was, just to really contract. And I think that is about it for the shoulders. What I did want to touch up a little bit today was the triceps. So over here with little reverse cable push downs and using this V-bar, you know, I felt, you know, that it really hits the horseshoe when you're reverse grip. So just taking it real light, getting some tricep sets in here. All right, so with the final set of triceps, I decided to put on a different bar. Now this bar is a lot more stable than the other one. And I'm shortening up the reps because I just want to keep, you know, constant movement going. And this isn't the full rack, but it's pretty close. And just pushing straight down, you know, instead of bringing it kind of in. There you can see on my face, that's when the burn really hits after the set. But for some reason, I feel like I have more in the tank. And I actually crank the weight all the way up and do the full stack here, but I think it was more for shits and giggles because I only got a few reps in here at the end. And you could see me mouthing, I should probably dropped it rather than increase the weight, but it's all good. So I've gotten some questions about what I do for the stairs specifically. And although I haven't done the stairs in a while, to keep things interesting with the cardio, I'm just trying to switch it up. So we're back on the stairs today. I always hit quick start and I always manually, well, this machine wasn't working too well. So we're bumping it up to level 10, which is around 89 stairs per minute. You could bump it up a little bit more, but I feel like this is a good pace. And yeah, just gonna crank out some stairs. I'm also terrible with the camera, so sorry for this angle. And yeah, that pretty much concludes our Delt Day. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. We are getting closer to that goal of 600 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and like the video if you're following along with the bulk. We're throwing some pounds on already, so we just got to keep it going. And always remember to get your post-workout shake in immediately. It's get big season, baby. Let's go. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.